If you can think in English and stop translating, you will be able to answer questions more fluently and participate in conversations more easily. Let's find out how to do this. Hello, welcome to my channel. By the way, if you want to improve your fluency, check out my other YouTube videos. These will help you use grammar naturally, improve your pronunciation, and develop your fluency so you can move from being a struggling English learner to a successful English speaker. Now, talking about thinking in English can be challenging for some students. I believe this is because in many schools around the world, students are taught using what we call the grammar translation method. They teach us to translate. When I learned Chinese, the teacher would say, "Okay, AJ," to say hello in Chinese, you say, "Great," to ask how are you, you say "Ni ma," etc. At a beginner level, translating to learn the language seems natural and logical. However, the problem is that this becomes a habit that is very difficult to break as you advance. But you need to break this habit because otherwise you won't develop the fluency you need. When you can start thinking in English, you can answer questions more easily and speak more naturally. So in this video, I will show you 7 smart ways to start thinking in English. Let's begin. I'd say the first step to thinking in English is to surround yourself with English. This doesn't mean you have to live in or visit an English-speaking country, although that's great if you can. You can do this at home with just 10 minutes a day of English, gradually increasing to 20 minutes, 30 minutes a day. It's important to view this time in English as fun and enjoyable, not study time. I'm talking about listening to podcasts, internet radio, songs, reading books, novels, magazines, blogs, things you enjoy. Maybe watch TV shows or movies in English. Have moments where you are surrounded by English. During these moments, there are 3 things you can do. First, you can listen passively. Second, you can repeat words you hear or see. Third, you can repeat phrases you hear or see. Listening passively is great because when you do this, you're reducing stress and pressure. Research shows that this can help us learn more deeply. Repeating words and phrases is fantastic because then you start activating vocabulary, which means you can start using it more fluently. I wouldn't call it creating an English environment because that sounds big and difficult. It's hard to have an English environment in your home. I prefer to call it English moments. These English moments can be 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever you want. You allow yourself to start thinking in English because English surrounds you at that moment. Great, let's move to number 2. Just use words you know. The next step is to use only the words you already know when speaking in English. Sometimes students want to express an idea but lack the vocabulary, so they look up words in a dictionary or ask someone for a translation. This is excellent for vocabulary building but not for fluency. A great way to improve your fluency and start thinking in English is to use only the words you already know when speaking. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wait, come on, that's too simple. I'll just speak in simple English. Yes, and that's the beauty of it. It's simple, and you can focus 100% on fluency because you're not translating, so you're starting to think in English. If you come across an idea you want to express but lack the vocabulary, there are 2 things you can do. Number 1, find a way around it, say it differently, paraphrase it. This is essential for speaking in IELTS. Or number 2, let go of the idea, say something else, stick with the words you know. Trust me, I've done this in Spanish. I've even dreamed, not just thought, in Chinese. This is a game changer. It might seem strange, but try it. I think you'll like it. Let's move on. The next step is to start small and build up. It's probably very difficult to try thinking in English all day long. It's not easy, so don't think big. Start small. Begin by thinking in single words in English. Remember to always use words you already know. A common technique is to look at a picture and, as you look at it, think of the things you see. Try this. Look at this picture and just think of a word for the different things you see. Try it. Great, now you probably all thought of different things. I was thinking yoga mat, plants, t-shirt, lights. These are the things I thought of. This is a great and simple activity, right? You can do this anywhere, even for just a few minutes when you're waiting in line at the bank or traveling on a train. You can use a picture, but it's more natural to just look around and describe the things you see in your head. So while you're waiting in line at the bank, you look around and think, bank, queue, security guard, lights, camera noise, etc. This all happens in your head, very simple, remember, with words you already know. The secret is to make this a daily habit, even if it's just for a minute, but do it every day. Start with small habits. Atomic Habits, did you read that by James Clear? If you haven't, go check it out. Atomic Habits, so you can develop this small habit every day. The first thing is to start small and build up. In my previous example, we started with single words, but then you can move to two-word collocations, three-word chunks, or phrases. So when we look at the yoga situation, whether it's a picture or your yoga class, you might say yoga mat, blue t-shirt, bright lights, indoor plants, thinking, not saying, but thinking these things. Then you can develop and start making sentences. Oh, there's a yoga mat. She's wearing a blue t-shirt. Wow, those indoor plants are nice. Try this again with the picture, try collocations or short phrases. Okay, you can see that you're starting small and building up with this daily habit of thinking in English. Lovely. The next step is to talk to yourself. In the previous activity, start small and build up, we focused on thinking, right? Those words and phrases are in your head. Now we're going to extend this to talking to yourself and saying the words out loud. Again, the goal is not vocabulary development but fluency. The reason for this is that the Russian psychologist and educator Lev Vygotsky told me that inner speech, your thinking, comes from internalizing your outer speech, speaking. If you think about it, that inner voice in your head is the same as when you speak. The only difference is your muscles, you're not using these muscles. So, this cycle of thinking, speaking through practice, we can reinforce it and help ourselves think more in English. Now, we're not interacting with other people here, just talking to yourself. So, maybe while walking down the street, you say, ooh, silly hat. What a silly hat. What a beautiful day. I love the sun. Ooh, I'm hungry. You're telling yourself little snippets, little phrases, reinforcing that thinking in English. Some simple activities you can do here. Maybe you want to do these at home if you don't feel comfortable talking out loud on the street. Honestly, these days, a lot of people talk to themselves on the street. They talk like this: potatoes, carrots, peas. Yes, I think I have it all. Julie, yes, I'll be home soon. Okay, honey, bae. We think they're talking to themselves, but sometimes they're on the phone. But if you're not comfortable talking to yourself outside, do this at home. For example, in the morning, talk about your day's routine or plan. Today, I'm going shopping. I need to pick up some vegetables. You can describe an activity you're doing. I'm cooking, so I need 2 eggs, some more flour, more salt. Oh, I think. Or you can just go over what you did today. So today was a good day. In the morning, I did this and that. Oh, that was a good idea. You can do simple things where you're just talking to yourself and reinforcing this thinking. Let's move on. Next is writing in English. When it comes to thinking in English, I believe the active skill of writing complements the active skill of speaking to help you create this English environment, or what I call English moments, throughout the day, helping you think in English. Of course, the ways we talk and write are very different, and I don't recommend speaking as you write. They are 2 separate forms of communication. However, some research suggests that writing and speaking are connected and influence each other. So, I think that by writing things in English, we can also help start thinking in English. Remember to use only the words you know and start small and build up as before. Some simple activities might be writing your shopping list in English, leaving a message for family, pick up John at 6 o'clock, or putting a note on your computer. Remember to send email. You can develop this. Maybe later you'll write a diary entry in English or a blog post or an entire blog in English. All of these create English moments that will help you start thinking in English. Let's move on. Listening, we have an expression in English. The proof is in the pudding, which means you can say the pudding or dessert is delicious, but only when you taste it do you know if it's delicious. The proof is in the pudding. So only when you do something can you know if it works. So far, we've been looking at thinking in English with yourself, talking to yourself, writing notes to yourself. It's all about you. The next step is to practice with others because you also need to be able to think in English when communicating with other people. So, I think it's very important to practice speaking with others and, while doing this, practice this thinking in English as you do it. The more you engage in English conversations with your teachers, friends, fellow students, or colleagues, the more opportunities you have to practice thinking in English. When you practice, have some conversations where you focus only on thinking in English. Keep it simple. Use the words you know. Simple conversations. Maybe you want to tell the other person you're practicing thinking in English so they can be patient with you and have specific conversations just focusing on that. Try it and see. Let's continue. My next and final tip is to be monolingual. Let me explain. One of the most significant changes for me when learning French was moving from using a bilingual dictionary, French-English, to using a monolingual dictionary, French. So, when I looked up a word in French, it wasn't translated to English. It gave me a definition in French. Mind-blowing. Game changer. Brilliant. This was a critical step because it forced me to start thinking in French. Yes, it was harder. Yes, it took more time. It was an effort, but the change over several months was enormous. Now, another expression we have in English is, there's no such thing as a free lunch, meaning you have to pay to get some benefit. So, using the monolingual dictionary is hard and takes effort, but by paying with that time and effort, you get the benefit and great rewards. So, you won't make the change or transformation from thinking in your native language to thinking in English overnight. It just won't happen overnight. Takes time. Takes effort. The rewards are huge, and I think the monolingual dictionary is excellent. Follow all the steps above. I think it can be helpful. Try them and let me know in the comments below which ones work for you or any other tips you might have. Meanwhile, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and I hope to see you very soon next time. Take care, my friend. Goodbye.